Hello, I'm Herm Gailey. We're here on a sultry summer Sunday in North Hopewell Township, Pennsylvania. I can't resist always commenting on the weather because, you know, we kind of live in it. Pennsylvania is a funny place. It's been very, very hot the last few weeks in August of 2020, in the mid-90s. And if somebody's watching this from Arizona or Texas, they'll say, that doesn't sound that hot. But we've had humidities of 90% and over. So it's so hot you don't tan. You just sweat, stay wet, and you turn yellow like an overboiled potato. It's been a hot summer. Today's a little cooler, still sort of sticky. But we are here to talk about schooling your horse in a large open area. And this is a pasture that we sort of had on rest. And it makes a nice place to ride in the meantime. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what works for riding your horse in a big open space, the training you can achieve out there. But I'm going to refer back to a quote from Arthur Ashe, the tennis player, that we put up on one of our weekly quotes a while back. And he says, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. So people are always asking, or saying, well, we don't have an arena, or we don't have an indoor arena. Are we behind the eight ball? Is it impossible to get our horses broke to show? And the fact is, it's an advantage to have those things, but right now, I'm primarily showing in the ranch riding division, and if I just had this field, I'd have no problem getting a horse started and finished. And you know, you might come out with a better horse, who knows? So let's start by looking at our surroundings. Maybe we can pan around and have a look at the area I'm riding in, because it's what I think of as a semi-enclosed area. So let's have a look. And this is a pasture. It's enclosed by split rail fence. It's about 6 acres. It's on a bit of a slope. There's some flatter spots up by where those couple of horses are standing. So we'll make use of the whole pasture because that's one of the benefits. Don't have a nice big open space and just use one little corner of it. I'll stretch this horse out and let her travel some, which is one of the advantages to open space. I'll also ride on the gravel roads, the tractor paths, and the hay fields that we have here around our farm. So you just want to consider the resource you have at hand. Couple things that you need to know or need to decide before you start. Is the footing safe? Have horses been recently turned down in a wet area and it's all pockmarked by hooves and you're going to get in that and break your neck and your horse will stumble and get hurt? You don't need that. What kind of fence do you have? If you look carefully, you'll see that our fence has 2 strands of electric lining that's to keep the horses off the split rail, keep them from chewing. I would not even think about riding out here if the electric fence wasn't off. And if that insubstantial electric fence was all I had and there was no rail, I would almost rather be out in the big open hayfield where there's nothing to get afoul of. You want to make sure when you're talking about the ground that there are no holes. We have a lovely large rodent here in Pennsylvania called a groundhog, and they burrow and make holes that would make a gopher jealous. And if you hit one of those holes, you may take a fall, and you may hurt your horse, may hurt yourself. One of the advantages to a known enclosed space like this, even though it's large, I know for a fact there are no holes out here. Final thing is, you can see there's grass. It's medium length. If it was mowed, I'd like it a little better, but I don't like lawn mowed grass. If you have perfect turf, you're probably going to be tearing it up and skidding all over the place, where this coarser grass is more forgiving and will hold you better. So enough talk. I'm going to move this mare around. She was just shown yesterday, did well, and this is a good fresher upper for her. So I'll start out here and do the exact same things I do in a pen. You know, I may bend her around and make sure she's coming down and just relaxing. Bend her both ways to make sure she's just going to be relaxed. And while I won't take the time on camera, I might also walk the entire perimeter of this field. It's just relaxing for a horse, and it builds their walk, it builds their forward, it relaxes their mind. So when you've been doing a lot of arena riding, this is like a day at the beach for a horse. Even if you do some things that are a little bit demanding, it's a different setting, they got more space, they feel more comfortable. Now, one thing you'll notice if you look up here, there are a couple of horses up there. They will provide us with magnets to think about. In fact, they're the horses this mare's usually turned out with, and I'll want to see if she wants to pull that way. I don't recommend riding in a pasture like this if you had horses turned out here. There are just too many variables, too many ways that things can go wrong. So for today's purposes, I'm going to pick up a trot. And you can get an idea of how much space I have. In fact, we may be turning this into a voiceover if our phone didn't pick up. And I may come down to this tree that we're keeping safe inside a fence. It's not that the tree's going to run away, but the horses could chew the bark off. And it makes a nice thing to circle. It's a target. It makes sense to a horse. So you go around a time or so. And you line out again. And then that slope becomes your friend because you can aim your horse up it and it takes a little of the edge off, and maybe you say free up a little, not exactly extend, but just give me a better working trot. Get your feet moving. This pasture is probably about 500 to 600 feet from one fence to the other. That's longer than any pen I've ever ridden in. So even though it's not a huge pasture, it gives you lots of space. And one of the things you can evaluate when you're doing this is my horse straight? Horse traveling reasonably straight. So I'll pick a fence post way up there 500 or 600 feet away and target it. And I'm sort of not picking on her head. I'm letting her free up and go somewhere. Great thing to do with a horse that's been shown that maybe could be a little sticky from being in the pen all the time. So I'm going to trot over here to this fence post, and having stayed pretty nice and straight, her reward is we stop here at the fence post and she gets to blow for a minute. Now, one thing that I don't do is I don't necessarily just turn left and go straight down the hill, because that's somewhat steep. The grass is a little bit wet. If I want to get down there, I'll probably take a diagonal. That lets your horse learn to handle themselves. See, she just tripped a little bit. This is helping her to get her feet underneath her a little better. So I'll make a diagonal here and go the whole way to the opposite corner. And I'll probably make a right-hand turn and head back up the hill. And up the hill is a nice place to ask your horse to lope. And I've got this nice, long, straight, reasonably flat area where I can let this horse lope a little bit. Get up here, maybe you turn left into your lead. And you make a careful diagonal, keeping in mind you're on grass, and you gain a little bit of space. So your horse is learning to handle themselves. I'll turn right here, up the hill, make a little tighter turn. And while you're lined out here, maybe I move her over in a little bit of a leg yield. I'll do that a few times in this long straight line and not change leads. Make another left up the hill. Take a careful diagonal. Little bit of a leg yield into her lead. Little bit of a leg yield into her lead. I'll turn right. I'll move her over again, and say, how about a lead change? And there you go. And you can keep them ever so straight because you're not having a wall rush up at you. And then they're nice and straight. You can come up here and let them come down to a walk. And again, she's been pretty good. I'm going to let her stand here and relax. You can really get a horse extending out here. You can work on that lead change. You can leg yield a horse and have lots of room to get things wrong and let them work out right. And you can see how relaxed this thing is right now. And she's not the most relaxed horse in the world. It's just a good thing to do with them. And I'll use some of the flat spots and do closer maneuvers, you know, make smaller circles and so on. But not a whole lot because I've got the pen to do that in. But if that's what you have, there's a nice corner up there where you could go and trot or even lope smaller circles and get your horse pretty darn broke right out in this great big field. And she's taking advantage. She grabbed herself a little snack there. So I guess she is relaxed. So that is kind of a sketch or an outline of what you can accomplish riding your horse out in a big open area. And you can see that you could do some relatively high level things here. If you had a patch where the ground is safer, you could work on turnaround a little bit carefully. Grass is not the best thing for stops and turns, it's just a fact. But if you've got even a nice stone dust parking lot, you know, 40 by 40 foot place where you park things and there's nothing there and it's not too hard, you can tune up right there and get those things done, then come out here and cover ground. So don't lose heart if you don't have an arena. Use what you've got. Do what you can, and good luck to you.